the word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai.
Go to the great city Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me.
But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. All the sailors were afraid and cried out, each to his own god. And they threw the cargo into the sea to lighten the ship. But Jonah had gone below deck, where he lay down and fell in a deep sleep. The captain went to him and said,
wake up, call on your God, maybe he will take notice of us, so we may not perish.
Come on, let's try to see, find out who's responsible for the
Tell us, who is responsible for making all this trouble for us? What kinds of work do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you?
I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, God of heaven, who created the seas and the dry land.
What have you done?
They knew he was running away from the Lord because he had already told them so. The sea was getting rougher and rougher. So they asked him,
What should we do to you to make the sea calm down for us?
Pick me up and throw me into the sea. I know it is my fault that this great storm has come upon me.
Instead, the men did their best to row back to land, but they could not, for the sea grew even wilder than before. Then they cried out to the Lord,
Please, Lord, do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man for you, Lord. We have done as you please.
Then they took Jonah and threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm. At this, the men greatly feared the Lord, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to him. Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and he was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights.
I called to the Lord, and he answered my prayer. When the people around me were dead, I called for help and they listened to my cry. You hurled me into the deep, into the very heart of the sea. And your storms burst around me. Your waves and beakers swept over me. I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The engulfing waters swept me, the deep surrounds me, seaweed is wrapped around my head. To the root of the mountains I sank, the earth beneath buried me forever. But you, Lord my God, brought my life from the pit. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered the Lord, and my prayers rose to you, to your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols forsake God's love for them, but I, with shouts of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will make good. I will say, salvation has come to you.
And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. Then the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time.
Go to the great city Nineveh and proclaim to it the message I gave you.
Jonah obeyed the word of the Lord and went to Nineveh. Now Nineveh was a very large city. It took 3 days to go through it. Jonah began by going a day's journey into the city and proclaiming,
40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown. 40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown. 40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown. 40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown.
The Ninevites believed God. When the news reached the king of Nineveh, he rose from his throne, took off his royal robes, and covered himself with sackcloth. and sat down in the dust. Then he issued a proclamation in Nineveh.
By decree of the king and his nobles, do not let people or animals, even snapping turtles, herds or flocks, taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink, but let people and animals be covered in sackcloth. Let everyone call urgently on God. Let them give up their evil ways and violence. Who knows, maybe God will relent and with compassion turn from his fierce anger so that we will not perish.
When God saw what they did and how they turned from their evil ways, he relented and did not bring on them the destruction he had threatened. But to Jonah, this seemed very wrong, and he became angry. He prayed to the Lord.
Isn't this what I said, Lord, when we were still in home? That is why I tried to forestall by fleeing to Tarshish. I knew that you were a gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger and abundant to love, a God who relents from sending calamity. Now, Lord, take away my life, for it is better for me to die than to live.
It is right for you to be angry.
Jonah went out and sat down at a place east of the city. There he made himself a shelter, sat in its shade, and waited to see what would happen to the city. Then the Lord God provided a gourd and made it grow up over Jonah to give shade for his head to ease his discomfort. And Jonah was very happy about the gourd. But at dawn the next day, God provided a worm which chewed the gourd so that it withered. When the sun rose, God provided a scorching east wind, and the sun blazed on Jonah's head so that he grew faint. He wanted to die and said,
It is right for you to be angry about the ground. 20. You have been concerned about this plant, though we did not tend it or make it grow. It sprang up overnight and died overnight. And should I not have concern for the great city Nineveh, in which there are more than 125,000 people who cannot tell their right hand from their left, and also many animals?